It's time for Lime.
Oh, speak.
Okay. See, we had all this time to get ready, and he didn't have his drink ready. I don't know why. It's just what it is. But anyway, my name is Darren, and this over here will be Victor in just a moment, and he will probably have an adult beverage of some sort or another. I hear it. I hear him returning. Yes, it is an adult beverage of glass type. Yours is probably more recyclable than mine. And we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. And yes, here we'll. Oh,
It's
okay.
It's very recyclable, right? It goes here and then it eventually goes out.
Stop. Hey, I'll tell a joke. It's actually not a joke. It's a true story. So in Atlanta, there is a place called the Varsity. It's a drive-in. Hamburgers, hot dogs. It's been there forever, for decades. And a friend of mine, when I first found out about it, a friend of mine said, I'm cleaning up. He says, well, you go to Varsity, but it's not really food. It's what we call rental food. Because it sort of goes through you very fast. So it's just rental food. So you don't actually, you don't get any nutrients out of it. So if you're from the Atlanta area and you've had Varsity, you know what I'm talking about.
So I mean, that's a food that is not meant for you when you're hungry, but when you just want to enjoy
munchies.
Food.
Yeah, munchies. Right. You want bad food, that's where you want to go. But anyway, we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox, and on Fridays we do this live session. And unsurprisingly, we call it DevOps Paradox Live. Thomas, thank you for joining us live here today. And for the other people that are here with us, thanks for joining today. We've got some interesting news to go through. And if you haven't gotten your drink out, please do that. We did everything out of order today. It's been one of those weeks. Let's just call it that way. Are you okay? Or are they coming after you?
No, I don't know. Usually it's delayed, you hear the sirens first and then
you hear the
doorbell, exactly, a few minutes later. So if I disappear, you know the reason.
That's why. Okay. And then I'll just go full screen and keep going. The podcast this week was, what was this week? Holy cow. I don't even remember what this week's show was. Oh, creating a healthy working environment. Wow.
That's my role. I'm the one who never knows what we published and when. Don't imitate me now.
Well, no, it's fine because you're not supposed to know, but I did it, so I should have remembered. And it was one of those ones that I did late, so it's even worse. But yeah, how to create a healthy working environment. The title didn't really align directly with what we talked about, but it has something to do with it. Still working on titling things.
You know what's your problem? That you put 93 in the URL instead of something that is
that's
giving
a shortcut.
you a clue what it is.
Well, I could. Well, I have it written out on my notes, but if I was to put the URL here, it would be very, very long. So
okay, fair enough.
I'm not going to do that. We're here. There's Vladislav. Welcome. Guillermo. Is it Marco or Marcos? Because I don't know, and I said Marco last week, and now I'm questioning.
Sounds like from Balkans, and then it would be Marcos Lipogor. And okay. I don't know whether I'm right, but hey.
So, Marcos, do me a favor and put what your first name is, just so I don't mess up anymore, because I don't like messing up people's names. I will mispronounce them, but I at least want to get the name, at least semi-right. Oh, boy. Oh, I forgot about this. And, Marco, and it's Croatia.
Hey, I'm waiting for Corona to stop, and then I can come back to Zagreb at least once a year.
Why do you want to go to Zagreb?
There is a conference that I've been attending or speaking at every year.
Yeah.
Don't ask me the name, I forgot already. But anyways, in Zagreb.
Okay. That's not JFocus, is it? Like I said, JFocus? That's not JFocus.
No. If it's J something, I remember it because I'm not very fond of
Java.
Languages that start with J.
Okay, let's get into the news. And we have one more. Do you want to take a guess on this one? So, I see this as 3 words, and this is going to be horrible.
The ale odor.
I see it. Well, I see it as 3 words. I see the, and then I see ale, and I see odor.
Like a drink. Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's what I see. So what's your first name? Come on. I'm sorry. Because I can make jokes, and
Thea Leodor.
it could be Thea. It could be Thea.
It's not. It could be. It's Thea. I can guarantee you that.
Okay. All right.
I have no idea.
Boy, this has started off really good today. So anyway, up on the screen, you see Bridge to Kubernetes. And if you listen to, I believe it was episode 83, 84, where we had Alan Barr on, and he's building out his infrastructure. They were moving from .NET, and they were using Bridge to Kubernetes. And that's the first place I believe that either one of us had ever heard of it.
Yep.
And now, man, I even got water over on my screen. Now it supports any Kubernetes cluster. This is now the GitPod Wars, right? Or what is the name? How can we name that? Oh,
I mean, what, the wars?
Christian, thank you. No, so we have GitPod now that can be as a service, or you can install it in your cluster. Now we've got this bridge to Kubernetes that can now be installed in any Kubernetes cluster. It's not just locked into the Microsoft ecosystem. So is there a name for that space? Right? Because you had
developer environments.
Yeah, probably developer
Good ones.
I don't know if it's okay. It's definitely not developer productivity, even though it impacts developer productivity. But there has to be a name for this. Like what our day jobs, even though we work for different companies, we are in the CI and or CD space, right? That's the space that we live in for the day job. But I wonder what this would be considered to be. I don't know.
Devon,
maybe. Are we making up a new? Do we need to get a trademark before the day's over?
Cloud dev environment, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, and the person. What was interesting to me was not so much this, but this first real sentence. He's on the team within Microsoft, so Microsoft actually posted this. Now there was no other links other than the VS Code and Visual Studio. This looks interesting.
Yeah.
Do I smell a bake-off? Do you now have to do another video about this?
Oh man,
wink,
I get depressed when I look at the list of what I have to do.
Yeah, I haven't.
It's growing faster than I can do it. Maybe. Yeah. What? That will probably eventually play somehow, potentially with GitHub Spaces.
Right. That would be logical since they killed off the Visual Studio workspaces and they rolled it into it. Yeah, I mean they rolled it into the GitHub. But yeah, this is interesting. But anyway, I would say I could take it on, but right now I can't. I know I can't, so I don't want to cause more problems than I'm worth. Okay, so anyway, this was interesting. We both still like GitPod, but hey, it's
I mean it's a hot space that is just starting really about making developers more productive and taking them off their laptops at the same time, fully or partly. And I think that we will be seeing quite a lot of new other tools coming up this year.
Okay, speaking of tools, you were talking about tools that are coming up this year. Thank you for setting me up. I saw this the other day. May 1st, Bintray, JCenter, GoCenter, and ChartCenter go away. This is reminiscent of,
What is it? I mean, I know what
This is
JFrog does in general, but what are those?
These are their binary repositories
Okay.
that they are now killing off.
Everything goes into containers now. Is that the story?
No, they are getting rid of all their binary repositories as an offering.
Okay, including whatever container registry.
Artifactory still stays, and that's what they get into in this documentation or in this press release. Other than Conan Center, which I guess Conan Center is so freaking different, which I've had a couple of clients that used Conan. They're fast tracking the death of all 4 of these products. And what's happening is they had it here. I apologize. I had it called out and I lost it. JFrog's evolving to meet new challenges, i.e. the investors want more money. Did I say that out loud? I don't know if that's true. Okay, here we go. They're still continuing to offer the free and paid JFrog platform cloud subscription. So basically everything that was in Bintray, GoCenter, Chart Center, all of them already have replacements anyway. They're legacy.
Okay, so it's killing because version 1 because there is a version 2 already, and then there is no point supporting it. I mean, I know it's not version 2, but they're not killing those features. They're just killing old versions of products that are dealing with binaries, right?
They're killing off old products. Period.
Yeah.
So
good.
It's fine. It's not surprising, and really focusing on what they need to do, and they're working with people like Docker and everything else to go along with that. So the biggest problem. Well, go ahead.
The reason why I ask what are those, because I don't recall ever being in a company and hearing anyone using those. I mean, JFrog Artifactory rules, everybody's using it, but that tends to be the product that everybody's using, right?
Yep.
Or whatever they need to store in a way.
Well, I saw a bunch of chatter about Gradle because they use Bintray for all of their backing things for public. So they're having to scramble pretty fast. That's what it is. Well, this is what happened when Docker Hub made their announcement, right? To me, this is no different than that.
Yeah.
Except a little bit bigger. Oh, wait, hang on a second, people. I want to see. Can I do this? I can. Ooh, did you see that?
Now you switched us.
I did.
Now if I point a finger, no, it's still
off.
I will never get used to the mirror thingy.
Yeah, I know you won't. But anyway, okay, so we're talking about Docker. I think this is probably the biggest news of the week, is Docker being donated to the CNCF. Oh, wait, I didn't share the screen. Sorry, my bad. I think this is the biggest news of the week.
Yeah. So what is Docker distribution? I don't know. Is it me today, or I don't know any of the things what they are? What is Docker distribution? It's
distribution. It's
Docker,
right here.
Right?
It's this.
Container registry is part of Docker Hub. Yes. I mean, they lost it. They know it. If you remember, was it in the previous recording of a podcast or previous live streaming that we did, how I was ranting that many projects become open source because they failed commercially first?
Yeah.
And I think that's the case here. It's
yeah.
They have no commercial interest in it anymore, so it's open source.
Yeah.
But a bit too late.
Yep, and they go through all the different places, and it's like the maintainers are coming from Docker, GitHub, GitLab, DigitalOcean, Mirantis, and Harbor. Which Harbor's already, I'd forgotten they had already graduated.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's in Sandbox, and off we go.
Play with it. No, actually don't. Play with it only if you absolutely have to host your own registry. Yep. Only then.
And hopefully you don't have to.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Okay. Next up. Thought we'd talk more about that, but we won't. Copilot. I know everybody's tired of hearing about Copilot, and we talked about this, I believe, when they had their last release. But now there's progress bars. This is the thing you complained about and most everybody else complained about.
Yeah. I hate when I don't see if it's going to take less than a minute, and this is being generous right now, it's fine. Anything longer than a minute, I need to see a progress bar. I need to see what's going on. Otherwise, I'm never sure whether it's hanging or really doing something.
Yep. I wonder if
you can complain about TKS Cutler, right?
What I was getting ready to say is hopefully the guys that are working on Copilot call up the guys that we've worked and say, hey, look, we figured this out. Go take a look at this commit and figure out how to put this in EKS Cuddle.
Yeah.
Or Cat, of course, now who'd have to do that? Werner would have to do that, I guess, or Andy. Of course, Andy's getting promoted. Don't know if you want that job or not. Okay, so Copilot added in a few other things. I don't remember if we talked about it. I know we talked about the animation, or excuse me, the progress tracker, but I can't remember if it was GA then, or if this was just another part of that. I'm drawing a blank.
Don't remember.
Too many things. Speaking of not remembering, how many times do you bake secrets into your image?
Is it question to me or general question?
Yes.
It happens quite often. But I don't need a tool like that because GitHub is reverting commits when that happens.
Correct. But if you're not using GitHub, then it doesn't help you any.
Yeah.
So this is a new project. We're doing this live. The commit came in 21 hours ago, so not even a full day ago. So it's called Deepfence SecretScanner. And you can scan container images or local directories to find secrets like passwords, keys, or tokens.
Yeah.
This is a good CI thing, if nothing else.
The part that says our local directories, that's what gives me hope.
Why do you say that?
I'm a freak about everything being stored in Git, and then that's one of those things that you should be scanning before you create an image, not after, unless you're creating images from your laptop. Docker image build, blah blah blah, push it to registry and finished. It goes to production. Then you need this thing, right?
Yeah. But
for any more serious usage, I think that scanning should be happening before the image is built.
Yes, and yes. It should be done before it's built and done after it's built. Because, it's...
Why not?
Shifting left does not absolve the responsibility of the right-hand side. It just should be a much lighter process on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Right? You would still do it deep, but in theory it would be faster, quote unquote, and you wouldn't have to worry about it as much.
Now the tiny problem with I am becoming a bit spoiled with services like Snyk that just gives me that and everything else I need. So it's kind of very convenient for me to use Snyk or something like Snyk. It doesn't have to be Snyk. That will scan my Terraform file, scan my Docker file, scan my Go code, blah, 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 all that stuff. And just tell me what's wrong. It's a bit complicated when you think about the number of things, different types of things you want to scan. If we go with tools like the one you're mentioning, basically I need like 10 different ones to get actually what I really need. So I'm really in favor of consolidation of scanning. Just scan my stuff. I think that should be a tagline. Scan my stuff, not my images, not specifically images or Terraform or code. scan my repository. Okay, here you go. Scan my repository. And then let's say that maybe 2 scans. Scan my desired state, Git repository, and scan my runtime just in case. Kind of when it's running in Kubernetes, just keep scanning it. Kind of like if you detect anything right now or tomorrow or day after tomorrow, let me know.
It's sort of like one line is, go listen to our podcast on Apple Podcast. Well, that's a very concrete implementation versus go listen to audio wherever you listen to, go listen to our podcast wherever you listen to audio. Right? Because because we've done our part to make sure that the podcast is available everywhere we can make it available.
Exactly.
So whether you're listening on Spotify or actually using a podcast app, it doesn't matter. Our audio is there. That's what we want here is just go scan my stuff. Let me know what you find. And that's an implementation detail. Scanning for secrets is an implementation detail of scanning.
Exactly. I shouldn't be that specific.
Yeah.
I mean, that it needs to be happening, just to clarify, but it's part of something larger.
Okay. Next up is a thing called Kube-burner. I sort of scratched my head on this one, to be honest, because it's a tool aimed at stressing Kubernetes clusters. So create and delete objects, collect metrics, and then write them to a time series database. Let's see what happens here. Ah, nuts. So whose thing are we crashing right now?
No.
I don't know. This looks like one of those things to where I could go down the rabbit hole from an operational standpoint. But this is sort of in that same line with what you were just saying. Look at the desired state and go to my runtime. Well, this is a runtime thing. I'm going to put it in the group of chaos type things, even though it's not meant to be chaos.
It is in a way.
It is, but they didn't use the word, so I'm not going to put them in that totally in that scope. Because typically people that want to be chaos are really proud of being chaos. But
I like the part of acknowledgement, more or less, that Prometheus is the source of data. And that's where you should go to do any type of evaluation. To me, that sounds better than what typical chaos tools, even though this is not chaos, I understand, are kind of focused more on its internal metric collections, kind of, hey, destroy this pod, check whether the pod is running. While for me, it's much more interesting, destroy this pod, go to Prometheus and tell me what you see, type of stuff. Because it's more about, those things are more about finding unexpected than expected. Yeah, I destroy a pod comes back up, we're all happy, right? I know that happens. What I don't know what happens is with everything else.
Right. So I haven't tested this, but it looks to be pretty normal type things. Kube-burner. And let's see, where do I go? Oh, this one was, and I was actually talking to some of our support guys about this today. Kate's Mirror. And the about is what jumped out at me. And it's creating a local mirror of a Kubernetes cluster. Now they have mirror not in quotes here, but later on they do. And putting it in a Docker container to review. So if you're trying to figure out what's going on in a cluster, sometimes this is a major pain to figure out. And they walk you through step by step. There's basically a shell script here that does a bunch of kubectl calls. Not a bunch, quite a few. It generates a JSON file, and then you bake that JSON file into an image, and then you can run it and basically go into that container and see what's a mirror of that. It's obviously not running, but the data is there.
Yeah. But now, let me play devil's advocate here to begin with, and I'm going to skip the rant about you should be defining things in Git. I'm going to skip that part, and because that would make all this nonsensical silly. But who has a cluster that can fit into a container? Who has that? I mean, I know that many people have a small cluster, like 1, 2 nodes that are half empty.
Yeah.
But
remember,
it's
just data, though. This is just the data. This is the metadata about the cluster.
Only the metadata. Okay, so it's not really...
It's not running.
But kubectl-get pods is simulating, in a way, what was running.
Correct.
Is that what it's doing?
Correct.
I don't know. Okay, so if it's only the data, then fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool.
At least that's the way I understand it. And it is extremely pre-alpha. And what is their license? That's the one thing. That's MIT. So I can see this from a support organization. This could be really useful. Now, as the client, I don't know that I'd want to export the state of my Kubernetes cluster to send to a third-party vendor. Right? But this...
I mean, exporting the state for support is problematic through obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Second, I'm skeptical that would really work because there are so many variations that I'm not sure. I mean, it would literally need to be all the state. I don't know. I need to think about it.
The thing I do like about it is it's attempting to give somebody from a support perspective the ability to see what's going on without actually being on the cluster, at least from a setup and configuration perspective.
No, if that's the case, I think it's awesome. Kind of that would be something similar to support bundle that we had. And,
exactly.
I mean, and you still have.
Yeah.
That kind of gives me all the information I need without really the need for me to access your cluster and without really running what you're running, just giving me the information of what you're running, how you're running. If that's what it does, then it's actually, I'm changing my vote. It's absolutely awesome.
Yeah. Because anytime I don't have to interact with a running cluster to figure out what's going on, that's great. If I can take a snapshot of it, and it's just a safety thing for me. But here's the interesting thing. This is really where I wanted to go, because I ran across this, but then I saw this Open CSPM. And I jumped over and looked at this, and it's Open Cloud Security Posture Management Engine. Basically, as the tag is here, security audit. And this is, to me, very, very interesting. Not that we haven't seen these in the past, but as an open source tool, this is really cool, because in this picture here is the thing. Assets, exports, blah, 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 get it all in, goes into a GraphDB, run it through policy checks, results, UI, right? Just, it's crunching. It's not real time, although it could be near time.
Yeah. I went through it before this talk, before this session. This looks potentially the most interesting one we have today.
Yeah.
We just need to go deeper into it. But
Because,
that's on top of the list, my list now.
well, this space isn't our direct day-to-day stuff.
That's
But
what makes it interesting.
Exactly. And what makes it interesting is it's this kind of stuff that impacts our day-to-day stuff. Big time.
Oh yeah.
So that's the reason why I think, even though this is orthogonal to anything that we do daily, it's actually probably has more impact on us than our normal day-to-day stuff has. Because as a vendor, you as a vendor, if we can help make this part of it better for our clients, that's so much better. So anyway, if you haven't looked at this, and by the way, all the links for everything today are down in the show notes. There's also, the way I found this one, I think was off of a Medium blog post, and that link will also be down in the notes as well. And I'll do better today. I'll get the notes into the YouTube description right after the show today, because I have to stay in here and do some more recordings today. So I'll paste those in afterwards. But this is sort of like how the Docker announcement was probably the most interesting news. I think this is the most interesting code for the week, if you want to call it code. Okay, this is a little off the beaten path. I saw this and I felt sad for you. Did you see this? You're muted if you're talking. I can't see you.
Yes, they realize that they will not be able to make AAA games themselves.
Yes.
And gave up on that. Now, what will happen with Stadia as a platform, that is yet to be seen. But I kind of, whenever I take something Google, I start using it consciously, knowing that it might exist for a day or a week or a month or a lifetime. Kind of, that's Google. Kind of, you need to set your expectations straight. There is statistical chance that whatever you use or buy will not exist for long. That's how Google operates.
Now, did you see the announcement from Amazon Game Studios?
Yeah, they're having some troubles as well.
They're having some troubles, but they made the announcement that they're going to stay invested in building their own games.
Yes, but they've been doing that for years in a very, very, very unsuccessfully in a way, let's say. They're focused not on making great games, but making games that work. I remember I read it the other day that one of the requirements is to have 10,000 concurrent users in an MMO. I mean, I don't play MMOs, but to me that sounds like a silly requirement to have from the get-go, right?
Well, maybe not.
But first, you make a great game.
Yes.
That's more important than how many concurrent users you can handle. Not that concurrency is not important, it is. But anyways, to be honest, I never expected Google to make great games. So I'm using it as a platform to get other people's great games.
Yep. Do you have Cyberpunk?
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Oh, okay. A lot of people didn't.
Yeah, no, not good.
Speaking of not liking things. Okay. Give me a 25-minute video going through startup and shutdown. What was the middle part? Oh, upgrade.
Upgrade, yes.
Startup, upgrade, shutdown.
Yes. And volumes, creating volumes in the middle.
Creating volumes. All right, that was the fourth one. Right. Any surprises out of this?
I mean, to begin with, Linode is
correct.
amazingly fast. It takes like 2 minutes to create a cluster. It's amazing. It takes a couple of seconds to destroy a cluster. Now 2 minutes is not really correct. It is realistically closer to 3 or 4 minutes because it exits when it creates the worker after creating a control plane fully operational, creates worker nodes, but not necessarily does not wait until they fully boot up. So let's say it's not 2-3 minutes, it's 3-4 minutes, but creating a cluster in a couple of minutes is amazing. What they're doing speed-wise is absolutely amazing. And then you get, and this is embarrassing. I did not realize that before. I realized this, what I'm going to say during while making the video. When you upgrade the cluster, it destroys your cluster and creates a new one.
Well, we already knew that, but you had forgotten, I guess.
Did I? Linode.
Yeah, we talked. We've
I
done
didn't
that.
know that.
You did that during. Oh, you know what? I'm confusing that with DigitalOcean. They do the same thing.
I'm not sure. It's been a while since I used DigitalOcean, but I like AWS EKS Cattle creates a new node group and then destroys the old one. But your stuff moves from one to another before it's destroyed.
Yeah.
Creating a new node group or worker nodes and then destroying old ones is not good. We should be using rolling updates, but I can live
acceptable.
with it.
Yeah.
But this is literally destroying the whole cluster, including the control plane. Kind of literally everything gets destroyed. And then a new one is created and it's empty. Kind of like, where is my stuff? Now, in defense of Linode, and this comes from literally maybe half an hour ago, I got email from Linode a few minutes before this started. And I didn't read it in details, but anyway, that's fixed. That's now working. Now you can upgrade the cluster in Linode.
Wait, they saw your video on Tuesday and they've already fixed it? That can't be true.
Yes. No, I don't know whether they started working on it before my video. I'm not saying, I'm definitely not saying that they fixed it after my video. What I'm saying is that I got email, hey, this is now working, blah, blah, blah. I might do another video on Linode because Linode...
Hey, do you have the Terraform for it right now?
Yes.
You want to share your screen? Let's just do it.
No, better not. You have no idea what I have on my screen right now. If I share it, it's going to be trouble.
Okay, never mind.
But we can do it for the next Friday.
We'll do it next Friday. We'll do it live next Friday because we've actually already scheduled next Friday. Next Friday is going to be at the same time next week. Long story short, so we'll do that live next Friday.
I need kind of 15 minutes in advance, and then I can do whatever.
Okay.
But anyways, what I like about Linode, excluding the part that is fixed about upgrading, is first, it's deadly fast. I like being fast because speed is also giving you, it's not that it matters that much how fast you create a cluster, but that gives you some information about how fast everything works. If you're fast to create, fast to upgrade, fast to destroy, that means that you don't have baggage that is slowing everything else down. It's extremely cheap. And what was the last thing? Yes, and this is the thing I like the most about Linode and DigitalOcean as well. I know the price in advance. If I go to UI and say I want this, and that, before I click create button, it gets, this is how much it will cost you a month. Not a cent more, not a cent less. I know how much it will cost. And if you go to Google, Azure, Amazon, you have no idea how much something costs. You really need to use it for a while and then to start extrapolating the information and start guessing, and even then you get surprises, kind of, hey, suddenly I have the same size of the cluster, but the traffic increased 30% and my bill increased 87%, things like that, craziness. This is, if you want to know how much something costs, if you want something fast, Linode, DigitalOcean, great. And this is important thing, if you don't need a bunch of services, that's probably the most important thing, right? If you need to be able to get as a service almost anything you can ever imagine, that's not your stuff. But if you need a cluster, simply, hey, this is a cluster. What do you need for a cluster realistically? You need, I don't know, Kubernetes cluster, Kubernetes as a service, you need a load balancer, you need storage. That's what and some networking, right? Yeah. That's what you really need. And if that's what you need, it's great. And there is actually one more thing that I don't like about those small ones. None of them allows me to run a regional cluster, or at least they call it regional. But when I say regional, I mean spread across multiple data centers with low latency so that failure does not affect me.
Right. Each one of both Linode and DigitalOcean, at least as it stands today, they're in one physical brick building.
Yes.
that's
I
it.
mean, there are different buildings, but there are
Yeah.
different regions, so you cannot really spread your cluster across regions, or what everybody calls it different. But
They call it availability zones, whatever. It's just that it's
Yeah.
you're in a physical building. If
yes.
that building dies, if you lose network to that building, you're done. Period.
But now there is also a question of calculations, and you can say, hey, I don't know, like 1%, potentially 1% downtime a year, and I'm inventing the figure right now, is bad. But it's not as bad as the benefits I get from having something 3, 4, 5, 10 times cheaper, right? I can live with that, maybe.
Yeah. It's a risk worth calculating.
Yeah.
I mean, for a dev or non-prod cluster, it would be silly not to, right? Other than you still want to have a non-prod of your prod somewhere, but it doesn't have to be.
But that's kind of tricky, because if you also could counter argue and say, hey, wherever your prod is, probably that's the place where it makes sense to have dev as well. Just for proximity and everything the same and what's not. But hey, there are a lot of smaller businesses like that are single digits in million. I would say that if you're single digit million business, you probably DigitalOcean Linode is good.
Yeah, and Christian brought up try Hetzner as well.
Yeah, I haven't tried that Hetzner. I don't know. You see, I learned something.
They're basically an EU specific. Is it EU or just German? I can't remember. Specific provider.
Yeah, I'll try it.
So anyway, that's that
But
one.
going back to your initial question, basically,
Yes.
to exclude Linode because it's a different category and because of the upgrade silliness. I was surprised that Azure, and I know for a fact that Azure was extremely slow. Azure is, by all references, the fastest one, faster than Google. That's unexpected. That was unexpected, because I create clusters over there all the time, but I don't really measure it on stopwatch. I say create a cluster and then go and have watch something, on YouTube or whatever.
Right.
Improved drastically. Google is close, and AWS.
Is AWS.
AWS is for people who have a lot of patience. Everything is slow.
Yeah, and Christian said Germany is specific but cheap. Yeah.
Nice. I'll try it.
Okay, and let's move over to Argo. Not that you're biased.
I am, in a way.
You're highly biased.
I'm highly biased. Depends. That's kind of like very hard to kind of deduce, because I became biased because I fell in love with Argo when I was not biased. But now I'm biased. Right? So
Yeah.
it is. Let's say I am.
It was it was interesting because I haven't worked hands-on with Argo yet at all. And it was interesting to watch through it and compare and contrast to the other tools. Right?
Yeah.
Not just the one that I use on a daily basis, but others that I have used. And it's just a different way to do it, but it's meant for Kubernetes. It's really geared towards that.
Yeah, there is a difference between something being designed to run in Kubernetes and something put to run in Kubernetes. And this is now important thing. Being designed for Kubernetes does not necessarily mean that it's better, right? Because putting something that is not designed for Kubernetes inside of Kubernetes might give you benefits, and that something might have benefits that are beyond Kubernetes itself. So I'm not going to say that design from scratch for Kubernetes is always better. But if that's what you're looking for, then Argo Workflows is a good option to consider. I'm not going to even say use it, but consider.
Yeah, the concepts that Argo appears to be based on are sound. There's nothing earth-shattering in there. The implementation is really nice.
Yes, and it's small and simple. It's really a controller that listens to events. Event says run this thing, and this thing is running. It's very, very lightweight and very Kubernetes focused.
Yeah. Is that a fire alarm? Or is that just crickets?
I don't know.
Okay, doesn't matter. And with what Thomas says, biased but open-minded is perfect.
That's the thing. I'm always very biased. It's just that my biases are changing every month. I get every once in a while hate email, kind of like, yeah, but you just told me do this, and now you're saying this is bad, do this. Now you're differently biased, and then a month after that, I'm differently biased again.
Well, that's what it is, right? I mean, this space is moving so fast that, not that we know everything, because we sure don't, but it's worth always taking a look at things. Whether you do anything with it or not, that's up to you.
And I think that what you just said might be one of the most important things. And I get also complaints, people saying, hey, do you really expect us to kind of, you do all those things that you are showing one way or another, that we switch to new stuff every 2 weeks and all those things. And I'm old enough to know that that's unrealistic, that's silly. What I do think that many people are missing is that the fact that you will not be jumping into something new every few weeks does not mean that you should not be aware of what those things are, because it helps us visualize the picture where we need to go. So having understanding of what is latest and greatest is extremely important. One of the most important things, I think, in our industry. Doesn't matter if you're going to use only 1% of that. It gives clarity where you need to go.
Having information will either help give you an option to go somewhere else or cement the fact that you're right where you need to be for now.
Yeah, and also get ideas. You can. I'm trying to invent now a use case. You might say, "Hey, I'm doing deployments like this," and then Argo CD and Flux come along and they propose GitOps, and I cannot switch to that. I don't want to switch to that. Okay, but there are a couple of things that you can probably learn from that and implement in whatever you're doing right now.
Yeah,
and that's that value proposition. Not necessarily that we have to use all those tools coming along, but understanding them gives us the ability to say, hey, actually, I can do this. I can do this in the tool I'm using, right? I don't need to switch to this tool, but this is a great idea.
And I've never thought about taking that concept and applying it to the tool I'm already using.
Exactly.
Christian Bravo. It's normal to change your opinion once in a while since you have another context. With more information, with more data, it doesn't mean that you'll change your mind, but at least you'll be better acquainted with your decision.
Yeah. I would even say that, I dislike people who don't change their minds. That means that it's impossible that you are right. I mean, it's very possible that you're right. But that keeps being right for years to come. That's impossible in our industry.
Correct. And one for here, I'm strongly advocating what I think is best until I see that something else is better.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'd even switch. I'd switch off best and just say what I think is good. I don't care what is it good? Is it good enough? Because sometimes getting to best takes way too long versus just having good.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's see. I just finished editing this coming week's podcast, so I haven't named it yet, and I don't even remember what it was about. I just finished editing it last night. Oh, I do remember. It was learning styles, text versus audio versus video, or the mismatch. And it was funny. I'll go ahead and say this here right now. There will be a part of that podcast towards the end where we say, okay, we're now at, I don't remember the exact minute time, but we're at 37 minutes and 16 seconds. And if you were to look down at your podcast player or wherever you're listening to it right now, you're going to see it's going to be somewhere between 26 and 29 minutes. Guess where it was? 26:59. Now I haven't put the introduction on there yet or anything, so it'll slide around a little bit, but it'll still be probably right around the 29-minute mark. It was funny. I was like, yeah, I know us a little too well. And trust me, I didn't edit it to get it to that point. That's just where it falls out. It's just. And have you decided on your 2 topics for next week yet?
Yes. Actually, one is already finished, mostly like 90%. That's going to be a bit of ranting about what to do in the post-Docker era about Kubernetes. I published already a thing about Kaneko building Docker images, container images, but this is a bit broader. So it's more about me being bored and then speaking to the mic, really no demo this time. And the second video next week, if I finish it, most likely, will be about combining all Argo projects.
Right, which is what you talked about at the end of this one.
Yes,
this week. So, how good is that? Obviously, you've played with it and you haven't gone deep, but how good is it really?
The Argo projects?
Yeah.
I think that.
Good.
I think that they're fantastic. And so there are bad sides of it. I think that user experience is not necessarily very good. But what it does is actually extremely good and battle tested. And to understand that actually, so short history in a few sentences. Basically, Argo project comes from a company whose name I forgot that was bought by Intuit, which is a financial services type of company, fintech. And they use Argo internally. The whole point of Argo open source is that they open source from get-go what they need for themselves. So, and we're talking about hundreds of clusters, huge scale, right? So it is battle tested. It works for really, really big scale, and it has decently big community adoption or what's not. And that's what makes it, I think, slightly different than many other open source projects, which usually start as, hey, this is what I need. Like, this is what I need as Victor, right? But then over time, you have 10 users, and this is what 10 of us need, right? This, on the other hand, was built immediately for what the real company needs at serious scale to run operations. And as such, if I would have any complaint about Argo, that's more that user experience level, right? Because it's really made by engineers for engineers of certain type, let's say, with certain needs.
But that's okay. And Thomas brought up here, he likes Captain. Did you listen, Thomas?
Yep.
Did you listen to that episode we did with oh my goodness, what was his name?
Andrew something. I don't remember.
I should know this.
But we had the episode with Captain. It was
recent. It was very recent. It came out on. If you haven't listened to it yet, it was on. Looking at the That was episode 90. That was Andy Grabner. Episode 90.
So the idea and concepts behind Captain, I think, are absolutely amazing. I think that they are onto something absolutely incredible. The team behind Captain. I have my reservations about implementation of those ideas, but conceptually, I think it's absolutely amazing. And basically, if I would explain it. And Thomas, you're probably using it more than me. Captain is about, instead of having one huge pipeline that defines everything you need for the life cycle of an application, you're defining bits and pieces and then tying them up through events, which is a refreshing outlook on how to approach it. I cannot even say that it's better or worse, because we need time to get potentially to the point to be able to say that, but it's a refreshing new idea how to do something that everybody's doing for a long time now.
And event-based is where we're heading. If you're not already there, that's where we're going.
Yes.
And if you're not, is it time to retire yet? But in our case, retiring may be, it's almost top of the hour, and it means it's time to get to work again.
Events are not necessarily always, I mean, it's also kind of a trade-off, because I do think that we're going towards events, but with the current, in generally speaking, with the current state of event-based tooling, it's a bit complicated as well. I've been spending the last couple of days, I'm not going to rant now what it is, but something very, very much based on events. And when things go wrong, I start hating myself for going down the routes of event. And it's something like, well, I forgot to, that ends up after 1 hour me concluding, oh, this argument is wrong, right? And something that you figure out like this normally, but then when it's events, it goes here, there, you need to track it down, you figure it out in some completely random different place, that something seemingly unrelated is what you did wrong.
Yep.
I'm not saying that does not make event-based architectures bad, but rather than it's maybe that space is much greener, so we don't have that tooling maybe to tie it all together somehow.
Well, I'm going to plant the seed, and then we're going to wrap for today. I was listening to an episode from, I don't even remember what it was today, and they were talking about microservices. And stick with me for just a second. They were talking about how microservices shouldn't be dependent on each other, but they really have to be dependent on each other in order for them to work. And I was on the backside of my neighborhood starting to scream. Because if you can't deploy microservices in isolation because you're concerned how you're going to break somebody else that's consuming you, you did it wrong. And if you're doing eventing right, you come at it from a completely different perspective. And we've said this before. If you're a producer, you're producing. You could care less who's consuming. If you're a consumer, you could care less where that event was produced from. It's just that middle one to where, okay, you're not just a producer and not just a consumer. And that's whatever that phrasing is. But the eventing is here to stay. It's been here forever, right? Go back to MQ series, go back to, it's just, you boil it down, it's pub sub. What level of it, that's up to you.
Yeah. And even if you do direct dependencies, if let's say we forget about events completely and we have service A speaks to service B, that type of dependency I'm okay with. What I'm not okay is that service A version 17 needs to speak with service B version 35. That's the problem.
That's a huge problem.
Hey, I speak with service B, and service B does whatever needs to be doing. I don't really need to care what is the current version of service B.
Yeah.
The same way as when you call some public API of a good service, YouTube or Twitter. I don't know. Maybe they're not good. Imagine that they're good services, right? That they're doing the right thing. You don't care which version of Twitter right now is there.
No.
Right? You might care because there is a new feature that you want to implement, and then you need to be specific. Hey, I want this from what's or not, but they're all backwards compatible. They simply work. I don't care what Twitter does.
Yeah, if you have that level of version dependency between, you don't have microservices. You've created a distributed monolith.
Exactly.
Which is stupid. There, I said it. I said the S word. It's stupid. Okay. I actually do have to get some recordings done here. Let's get here to Stefan's. Recently, I got confused between Captain and Argo events. At first, both appear event-based orchestrators.
Yes. The major difference between Captain and Argo events is that Captain is event-based CI/CD deployment mechanism, something like this, right? While Argo events is a general-purpose eventing mechanism, right? So you can use it with Argo workflows, and then you get something conceptually similar to Captain without entering what is better or worse. But you can use Argo events with something that has nothing to do with workflows. So it's an eventing mechanism with sensors and triggers, while Captain is combining those two things together, for better or worse.
It's more all in the box versus Argo events is just the event part of it.
Yes. And both of them use NUTS, which is cloud native something CNCF. So both are based on the same underlying technology.
Yeah. Okay, Vladislav set it off. Have a great weekend, folks. We will be back next week at the same time. Different URL. Still on YouTube, but different URL. Because I haven't scheduled it yet. Anything else? Are you done?
I'm done.
Final words from you? You're done. Are you really done, or are you going back to work?
I'm going back to work. I have maybe 3-4 hours left today.
Yep. Nothing like living in Spain and working U.S. West Coast time.
I woke up at noon. I started working at 2 o'clock, so I still have some time to kill.
You still got some time to get some stuff done. All right, Thomas, have a great weekend. Everybody else, we will see you again next week. And I keep clicking away to the wrong things. And here we go. Bye, y'all. See ya.